You're listening to Popcorn and Politics. What's the real deal? Hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney and Derek J. Wilson. Asking the hard-hitting questions you want answers to. From political leaders and political hopefuls from around the world.
Another edition of Popcorn and Politics. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney, along with my co-host, Derek J. Wilson. Missed you guys last week. I know. Listen, I missed you. Did Derek hold it down for y'all last week when I was gone? Because I was at the airport. That's where I was.
Ooh, it was a challenge. It was a struggle. It was a struggle. I mean, well, it was my first. It was my first time by myself, but I think we did well. Ty was a great uh, uh, guest, and so I mean, I think I did well. And we got her information out. That's all that matters. Giving our candidates the platform to get their information out. So, but yeah, it was a struggle. I was nervous.
I'm glad you got through that because in May I'll be in Florida at a conference, so you're gonna have to hold it down again by yourself. Sorry. Just thought I'd let you
Oh,
know
okay.
real quick.
Well,
So
thanks
listen,
for the
guys, we got a
heads
great
up.
show planned for you today. As always, our guest today is Dr. Jason T. Hayes. He's running for Lieutenant Governor for the state of Georgia. But before we do get on with him and bring him on the stage, we got to talk about a couple of hot topics right now. And we're going to bring Jason on shortly so he can probably comment on some of these things too, because there's a lot going on. Qualifying is now over. So Derek always asked me this,
Yes.
right? He said, why we always got to talk about Herschel Walker? I said, because Herschel Walker is always doing something that make me want to talk about him, which is always. And so he said he's not debating anybody. Not only that, Derek, I got to talk about this part because I think it's some stinking chicken somewhere, some rotten chicken somewhere in Herschel's background. Herschel said he got a chicken company that employs 100 people, but according to the AJC, he only employ 8. So that's why. Listen, you asked me why I got to talk about him. That's why I got to talk about him. He said he employ 100. Then the AJC says 8. So that's why, Derek. That is why. So anyway.
Well, in other news, this was the week of qualify. I'm not going to talk about HW or anybody else on that side. So, but it was qualifying this week here in Georgia. Because the Georgia primary is May 24th. For those of you guys who doesn't know, 'cause I know we have listeners all over the world, if not the country for sure. But qualifying was this week in the state of Georgia, and a lot of candidates qualified. Surprisingly, a lot of people did not qualify as well. I was surprised of people who was I thought was going to qualify did not qualify. But one of the races that qualified, the candidates qualified, was the lieutenant governor race out here in Georgia. There's several of them that are qualified on both sides. Stacey Abrams qualified to run for governor again, so that's going to be exciting. Come general election, she doesn't have a primary opponent. Uh, the other side has several. And actually, I guess we can talk about it. Kemp has a challenge on his hand because Purdue is no small cookie. So
Well, Kemp is dismissing him pretty much. He was like, you know what? I don't even care about Purdue. We gonna fight. We gonna worry about Stacey. That's pretty much what they're saying. Kemp is saying in in his camp. We don't care about Purdue. We got to focus on Stacey, which is pretty interesting.
I don't know if that's a smart move, but that's not. I'm not worried about it. Whoever comes out, I believe that Stacey could beat him. So it's almost like the '90s Bulls going up against whomever. It's gonna be
Pretty much.
It's going to be a championship. That's the goal. Speaking on national news, I don't know if you saw this, but it said the census unaccounted Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans in 2020. What do you think about that one?
I mean, it's not hard to believe. You know, they don't want to tell the truth.
Yeah, I saw that this morning that they said that we were undercounted. You know, I don't I think part of it falls on us. We tend to have a problem trusting the government, rightfully.
I was
So
about to say, and you wonder, you think, we really?
yeah, so I think that that plays a part. Not just black people. Black people have their issue, their reasons. Hispanics have their reasons because one of the questions they ask. I don't know if they ask or not, but I know whether you're a citizen or not, you have to be you're supposed to be counted. And so uh, maybe a lot of them felt like if they answered the question, they could get deported. So I can see why that was undercounted. The
Yeah.
Native Americans, I don't know. But the interesting part about it is say while while the Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans was undercounted, white and Asian people was overcounted.
Now, how is that possible? I can
I don't
understand how
know.
you can undercount, but how can you overcount? Did you replace some of them with some of the agent did you replace some folks? How's that possible?
I'm always wonder why every census the African Americans are always 13%.
Because they
You
don't
ever
count
notice
them. How
that?
you know?
We're never more than 13%. And
And
so
what's crazy is we have all the babies according to statistics, right? We got all the babies. We just having babies,
yeah,
but we stay at 13%.
we stay at 13%. We never grow. So that's interesting. And back in Georgia, the Georgia GOP has been passing a flurry of controversial education bills lately. And so the Democrats are asking why now? Why all of a sudden all these new bills coming through? Like, there's one bill. The bill includes strict limits about how teachers talk about race in schools. A ban on transgender kids playing on the sports teams that matches their gender identity, and a bill to make it easier for parents to complain about specific material in school libraries. They are banning a lot of library books out of the library. Uh, I think if I was in school now, I would probably have never read Catcher in the Rye. I believe that's one of the books
Right.
that's no longer allowed to read. And to be totally honest, I don't even think. I mean, based on this new day standards, Romeo and Juliet probably couldn't be read in schools now because it's so much violence and tragedy.
Well,
It might teach a kid to do something
here's the
unscrupulous, I
thing,
guess.
right? Even if they don't read the books in school, they don't need to. They have a walking computer that children from the age about 5 and up walk around and carry them. And so you can't hide the truth from these kids, right? So you're trying to really push adults out of the game. You're not pushing the kids out because whatever the kids want to learn, they have a computer in their pocket and they walk with it like we
Right.
do everywhere. So you cannot hide the history from the kids. What you can try to stifle is the fact that none of the teachers can't really bring it up so they can go and research it because and here's the thing, the teachers can bring it up and they can go and research it. So whether they try to take it out the school system or not, they can't make it disappear because they can't take down the internet. I mean, even though they would like to try,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. As a matter
I
of fact,
just
we're expanding. So now they're
right,
totally decentralizing the internet where it's like, you free to do what you want to do in your own little metaverse world. So.
right. And it's just amazing how, all of a sudden we can't, they're not teaching history. For the longest well, I guess that's nothing new. They've been trying to not teach history, in itself. But I believe it's all started in the last presidential administration that, facts doesn't matter. Lies is what's put out there. You had the first black housing secretary that said, his ancestors came over to America as indentured servants, which we all know that that's not true.
Right.
Uh, but education has been resonating all across the country. I mean, as we know, the Virginia governor, he ran a campaign for unmasking kids and banning critical race theory, and he won.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it's been I guess a campaign ploy that these Republicans have been putting out. Education start making issues that doesn't exist, and I don't think there was ever a problem with the education as far as what they're talking about. But I do see that that's a new angle that they're trying. Well, we can't win on voting because we're always because they're losing on voting. They can't. So education is now their next pillar where they're trying to jump on and make it an issue out of nothing.
And I
Make them
think I
feel
think
bad.
I think that right. And I think one of the reasons for that is because people that would normally not vote for them don't want their kids, even though they may not feel the way history has portrayed them. They don't want their
Right.
kids to know that this is what it was. So they don't want their kids to go to school because I'm not like that. So why would I want my kids to know about that? So I'm gonna vote with this party because they're against it. So that you're right. That's a ploy. It is. But
It's a
let's
ploy.
let's bring Dr. Hayes
Yeah,
in.
let's
I'm sure
yes,
he has
Dr.
some stuff
Hayes
to talk
in.
about. I don't want to keep him waiting because I know he's a busy man. He looked like he's
Yeah.
chilling today though.
How y'all doing?
All right. How
Good.
are
Hello,
you?
hello, welcome to the show.
How are you? I have a lot of bad lighting, so I apologize.
Oh
it
no,
Okay,
that's
that's all
fine.
right.
It
But
is
thank
it
you
is
so
it
much
is
for
definitely cold out here. I can tell by
showing
you.
up,
is.
man. I
I had
feel
to
like
have my
I'm
little
back
hat
in
on.
Jersey. I went out yesterday. I was like, Lord have mercy. Am I in Jersey? Did I click my heels and go back to Jersey? Like, what is this? It was freezing yesterday. I was like, oh.
It
So
Yeah.
was, yeah. I felt like I was off the lake or something in Chicago or whatever. Something. I was like, man, it's cold out here.
Yeah, and it
is
was
that where you
windy.
from?
No, I'm actually from Louisiana. My family actually we moved to New Jersey early before I was born, and then I was born in Willingboro, so we lived in Trenton and
Okay.
Willingboro, but more or less grew up in Louisiana. So I
All
don't I
right, I
don't like the
got
cold.
people in Trenton and
Okay.
Willingsboro and down there in
Okay,
Centerville.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, because I grew up in Newark, so I didn't grow up
Okay,
down
okay,
south, but I
pretty
spent
good.
plenty of time down in Atlantic City, so I ain't gonna even lie,
I
that was my
I,
place.
I know Newark.
Yeah.
I know
So thank you.
Newark.
Welcome to the show. So Derek and I've been talking about what's going on. Everybody qualified, including yourself. Congratulations on
Yes,
qualifying. And we
thank
got a
you.
lot
Appreciate
of.
it.
Ooh, you're welcome. We got a lot of stuff. Derek hate when I talk about Herschel Walker. Yeah, when I talk about Herschel Walker,
Yeah,
but
man, Herschel Walker is not well, and if people would do, you can do a quick Google search on mental health. The guy has dissociative identity disorder. It's well documented, and bipolar.
You think it's
Obviously,
from
he's a football
you think
player.
it's yeah, I'm about to say you think it's from the football?
He's got CTE probably. So it's just a sad attempt by the Republican Party to use Herschel Walker. Yeah, he played football at Georgia, but also I think it's obviously the counter going against Senator Warnock. Black man versus black man. Oh, we're going to pick the guy that played football, so we're going to get people to vote for Herschel. But Herschel is not well, and they should be ashamed of themselves for even pulling him to run.
well,
Wow.
that's
So
sad. Well, after this stinking chicken, I'm sure people are going to realize he's not well.
yeah, he's not
That
well.
100 people that he didn't employ and 8 that he did, and that 25 million he didn't make, but the one that he did. So I mean, the only thing, the thing about
That's Trump's guy. That was Trump. Trump was his first employer when he played for
wow,
United States Football League for the New Jersey Generals when he was
He
running back and
sure
Lord,
got
was.
drafted back in
Yeah.
wow,
19 what 82, 83, 84, something like yeah. So
that
that's
was before
Trump's
my
guy.
that was before
That's
my
Trump's
time,
guy.
Derek.
Yeah, that's Trump's
No
guy.
man. No ma'am. You
So
was a
No, no,
junior in
no, Derek,
high school.
That was before my time.
yeah, I was in elementary school doing something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Preschool.
Right,
I don't know. I was doing something.
exactly, exactly. So you got your race at hand. How's it going?
Yes,
What you want to share with the people about what you're doing and why you're running? Because I know you're a busy person. Why add this to your plate?
Well, first
absolutely.
introduce
Well,
yourself.
yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
first, my name is first my name is Dr. Jason Hayes, Democratic candidate for Lieutenant Governor. So originally, I mentioned before, New Jersey, Louisiana. I grew up in Opelousas, Louisiana, a little small town, about 25,000 large, not that much different than a lot of the towns in the south of Georgia. And went to college in Xavier University in New Orleans. Great experience. Ended up studying chemistry pre-med, did a lot of volunteering, even did some violence prevention work as well. And then went to medical school in Meharry in Nashville, where I got a medical degree and also a master's in public health. With that master's in public health, did that at the same time with the medical degree. I actually studied Medicaid, Medicare, environmental racism, even studied tort law. So I did a wide range of things with that particular degree. And then also, I was able to do a congressional internship with Congressman Jim Cooper, the Democrat in Nashville. I actually got a great experience. And from his experience working with him in his office, I actually thought to myself, okay, I think politics may be in my future. It's a great opportunity to help people beyond the hospital walls. So ended up from there going to Baylor College of Medicine in Houston in the Texas Medical Center. Great place to learn. Ended up getting a lot of great
H-Town.
experience. Yeah, that's right. Houston, Texas, man. Got a lot of great experience there. Ended up becoming a board certified internist. And then from there, ended up moving back to Tennessee. Ended up working in Jackson, Tennessee, in Memphis and Nashville with the National Health Service Corps. And that's a program that was started in the 70s. Actually coincided with the use of federally qualified health centers. So I actually worked at two federally qualified health centers. One of them was a FQAC lookalike, but basically got an experience working with patients in rural and urban communities, Medicaid, Medicare, uninsured, migrant workers, individuals who just recently released from prison. So got a great experience working with underserved patients. Also was a medical director, interim medical director, and one of them. So I learned a lot about FQHCs and how that program operates. And then from there, ended up working as I was a travel doctor. So I ended up like traveling around the country, working at different locations. Actually, came to Georgia a couple times, working with a couple of healthcare systems, and then from there decided to settle in the Atlanta area. Was recruited by a hospital system. From there, ended up deciding to go back to school. Got a business degree, a physician's executive master's business degree from University of Tennessee, Hassan College of Business, and used that degree to help assist me with starting my own medical practice and have my own practice. Have been there in Alpharetta with my practice for the past, past 5.5 years. But I've been in Alpharetta for going on 8 years. So essentially decided to run for office in 2020, ran for House District 49, state representative in Alpharetta. And if you're familiar with that area, it's very Republican, very conservative. Did a great job winning my Democratic primary with a 54% vote. So I actually had competition and then ended up going against a longtime Republican, got 47.2% of the vote as a first time candidate, which was huge, given that the area is largely Republican. So showed that I was not only a great candidate for Democrats, but a strong candidate for Republicans as well. So the question I get a lot is, why not run again for House District 49? Why are you running for Lieutenant Governor? And I tell people that Alpharetta, Johns Creek, those areas, they're nice. They're great places to live, but they're going to be fine regardless of who their representative is. My concern is all of Georgia. My
Right.
concern is Atlanta, certain pockets where they're underserved. I'm concerned about the Albanys, the Columbuses, the south of Georgia where they don't have enough access to positions. And I also think we need better leadership at the top of the ticket. So my experience, running for office, my variety of experiences, not only as a medical doctor, but policy experience, also as a small business owner, uh, work as a congressional intern. I've also done some state policy work early in my career when I was back in Tennessee. So I've done things behind the scenes, but also run for office before. I will bring something different to the position. I'll be able to, in my opinion, I'll be able to push state senate, push state representatives. I'll even be very assertive with the governor to make sure that we pass initiatives to take care of Georgians. And the four main things that we're pushing for the campaign is one, being a medical doctor. We want to push Medicaid expansion so we can get 400 to 500,000 Georgians with access to affordable health insurance. And that means, people who are waiters, waitresses, small business owners, it could be a beautician, a barber, individuals who don't qualify for Medicaid, don't qualify for Medicare. This will give them access to affordable health insurance and also the funding that comes with the matching dollars. So we'll be able to get several billions of dollars from the federal government to help hospitals that are actually closing because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And some of these hospitals are in rural areas. We call them critical access hospitals. Some have already closed. And also the other piece that I can bring to it is that when we get more affordable health insurance, we're going to need healthcare systems that are available to take care of the influx of new patients. So, not only being a physician, I've credentialed myself. I'm on Medicaid as a Medicaid doctor. I understand the healthcare systems not only here in Georgia. I've actually worked for several of them. I'm actually affiliated with several of them. So I understand healthcare from that perspective, from a population health, being a public health person. But also, I understand federally qualified health centers. I mentioned before I was an interim medical director for FQHC. I've also was a doctor with the National Health Service Corps. So I understand the grants that are used, they're called public health Section 3, Public Health Section Grant, Section 330. Those grants are used to actually get federally qualified healthcare centers to underserved areas. So when we talk about the 148 counties here in Georgia that are deemed medically underserved, especially many of them in the south of Georgia that don't have OBGYN,
Wow.
pediatrics, internal medicine doctors, we can use those fundings from the federal government to get these FQHCs there. So not only do we solve or help partially solve the issue of individuals getting health insurance, we can bring FQHCs, health clinics, to these areas that are underserved and recruit doctors there. So out of all the candidates, I'm the only one that has the expert opinion and expert experience to get this done. So that's the advantage for myself running for lieutenant governor. Number two, education is important. Both of my grandparents, paternal grandparents, were school teachers, so I've heard the stories from them about how education it's hard, especially for teachers. So I'm definitely pro teacher, making sure that they get better support in the classroom. Resource officers, we need those available in the schools. We need clinical social workers to help the students deal with issues that they may be dealing with at home, but also, bullying is on the rise, especially with social media. Children don't get a break when they go from home. They still have to deal with the bullying online and social media.
Right.
So school teachers need support. They also need better pay as well. And also, we need individuals who are interested in pushing the current curriculum. We have got to start bringing back trade opportunities for young people. A lot of young people don't want to go to college. So if they don't want to go to college, why not give them an opportunity to learn a trade, whether it's welding, learn automotives. You want to be a beautician, we need to give you the skill set for that. Home ec, we need to bring that back as well. So we couple that with bringing in business skills, teaching students about small business ownership, how to do a business plan, learn
Okay.
about personal finance. So students, whether if they want to go to college or not, have those skills. And if someone doesn't want to go to college, they can start their own business in their community, do some great things for their community as well. So that's the second thing. The third thing, I mentioned small business ownership. What I noticed about Alpharetta versus, let's say, a community in Southwest Atlanta or in East Atlanta or in Columbus is that small businesses are huge in an Alpharetta and the Johns Creek. Well, we need that in other communities as well. So if we're teaching about small business ownership, we need to have a Georgia level small business association. Not many people have the ability to go back to get an MBA to learn about a business plan, or many people may not have the time to learn about a business plan. But if we have a program that's available to Georgians where you can learn about small business ownership, how to put together a business plan, and also how to help navigate these loan opportunities here on the state level. So if we ever get in a situation again with the pandemic, you can cut through all of the red tape, work with a Georgia level SBA to help us keep our businesses going, keep them thriving, help them from closing. Also, we need to support the small business owners with better tax benefits, tax incentives to help keep them open. And another important thing we need to do, we need to leverage these corporations that are here in Georgia. If you look at the current budget right now, the revenue that the state of Georgia gets when you look at taxes, Georgia gets more revenue from personal taxes from us than they do corporations. So that has to change not only on the national level, but in the state level. So we need to tax these corporations. But if a corporation comes and says, "Well, Dr. Hayes, I don't want all these taxes. We want a tax break." We need to look at allowing them to have a tax break in exchange for coming into underserved communities and focus on community job hiring and community job training for individuals that are not only in the community, but also young people after school, get a job, during summer, get a job. When we focus on these things, we improve communities, we improve infrastructure, we decrease crime, people get access to health insurance. So we help improve communities on that standpoint, and we get communities stronger from that perspective. And then the last thing that we got to talk about is voter access, voter protections. We got to eliminate
Yeah.
SB 202. What bothers me about the Republican Party, Republican leadership, is that they try to use this narrative about immigrants or non-citizens voting. What I tell people is that that's a tired excuse, because many people that come to this country want to become citizens and they want to do it the right way. Well, they know fully well if they try to vote that they're going to be caught, and if they're caught, that's going to decrease their chances of becoming the citizens. And worse, they could be detained, sent to ICE. So why would an illegal immigrant go and try to vote? It doesn't make sense. So that's a tired excuse that needs to be removed. The voter ID issue, same way how they just passed this law where you can actually have a gun without getting a permit, and they're saying, well, that's my Second Amendment rights. Well, guess what? Voting is our constitutional rights as well. So why do we need to show an ID to vote?
Right.
Other issue with the voter ID law is that if you're a person that's in a transient situation, let's say you're a single parent mother or single parent father, you're moving from, say, your previous home to your parents' home, or maybe you're moving, to some transitional housing. If your ID shows a different address from what's on the voter roll, you can't vote that day. And it's very difficult to get all this changed. So, which sparks up, though, we need to have same day voter access. In other words, registration, same day voter registration. If you have any issues with your ID, they should be able to fix that on the spot. Ballot boxes. One of our Republican opponents, Butch Miller, wants to eliminate the ballot boxes. That's ludicrous. We have a lot of people who have immunocompromised conditions like HIV, or they're on chemotherapeutic agents. It's difficult for them to stand in line to be around other people where they can get sick. Also, you have people who are shift workers working in factories, or they're working in emergency rooms where it's difficult for them to get in line. So the ballot boxes are great for them. In addition, there are some issues with the post office system, whether if your actual ballots will be able to get in time.
May not even get there.
It might not even get there. And as you guys are aware, former President Trump did this 2 years ago, hired one of his friends, and they slowed down the mail system. So there's always concerns with that. So we need people who are running for office who will focus on looking to get SB 202 removed. And I feel as if that I'm one of the stronger candidates to push for that. Because one thing I tell people is that I'm not here for a party. I'm here for people. And if I have to stand up against someone in the Democratic Party, I'll do it. If I have to stand up against someone in the Republican Party, I'll do it. As a physician, we are taught to take care of the patient. We don't care about your insurance. We don't care about who the hospital is. We fight for patients. And that's the same response I would take here as being a lieutenant governor. Is I'll fight for people regardless of your background or your political affiliation.
Wow,
Go ahead, Derek, because I got a bunch of questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, please do. I'm ready.
Okay, well,
I like questions.
Before she jump into the questions, I just want to say, wow, that's an amazing platform. And so for people who doesn't know exactly the role of a lieutenant governor, what is that role and how does that function within the state government?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when you're the lieutenant governor, you're president of the state senate. So you actually do have the ability to push legislation through from that position. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Jeff Duncan has done it as well. So you can research that. And also you cast tie-breaking votes, which is important, very much akin to the vice president. You can cast tie-breaking votes. So if there's a critical bill that needs to be passed or vetoed or whatnot, have the ability to vote. Now, here's what I'm going to do that's a little different. I don't plan just to sit there in somebody's ivory tower and just say, okay, I'm going to do this and do that. I do plan to push legislation on the state senate level. I got to talk to every state senator that's there. I do plan to push issues of concern to state representatives as well. And I also do plan to whoever the governor will be to push issues of concern. Because there are a lot of things right now that won't get passed unless you have a governor that's brave enough to make the decisions from that particular standpoint. Because right now, I think a lot of us, especially those of us who are marginalized people, Black people, especially us in particular, because I still consider myself, I'm a voter as well. We get tired of every 4 years of a president coming and saying, we have a Black economic plan or a Black plan, or we're going to do this. And then these things don't get done. So we're going to need political leaders who have the courage to speak up. And people that know me very well know that I'm gonna speak up. So again, I plan to do something different. I'm just not gonna sit there and just, follow the script. We need people that are gonna have the courage to step up, and I plan to do that from that position.
All right. So you touched on a whole lot.
Yes.
Albany, Georgia is near and dear to my heart. That's my home. That's where I was born. Phoebe Putney Hospital there, which is the only hospital there. when the pandemic hit, my uncle was one of the first people to pass away from Albany, and one of the big
Albany.
issues was there was not enough hospital capacity there, so they had to bring him to
Oh my
Macon,
God.
and he passed away in Macon. Albany is also one of the largest cities in that area with about
Yep.
69,000 citizens, and about 70% of those are African American. But it's one of
That's
the
right.
poorest cities in the state of Georgia, so they have a lot going on. And I always ask this question: why is it that they're not as economically viable as other metro cities when they are a metro city with an airport? Like, that baffles my mind. Like, there is an airport that Delta fly into and fly out of, a commercial airport. And so I feel like there's something going on. I don't know what it is. And I made a remark, and somebody told me, "You gonna come down here and be the mayor?" And I was like, I don't think my husband gonna like that, me flying in there.
I'll
But
support you. I love Albany. I have a good
but that's
classmate that's from there.
always comes up for me, because I
Yeah.
have not heard, Dr. Hayes, anybody give me the answer that I'm looking for. And the answer is, how can we help Albany, Georgia? Not just Albany, but Albany to me is an anchor city, and it's like one of the poorest in the country. I was watching a YouTube video one night, late at night. It was like late, and this guy was doing a top 10 cities you don't want to live in.
Oh
Albany was one of
wow.
them. And I'm like, oh my God, like, is it that
Was
bad? He was like some random guy just doing a top 10 list
oh
of places.
my
And,
town was on it. My
hmm?
town was on it too. Opelousas, Louisiana. We were on one of those lists too as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy.
what do you perceive that can be done, one, to get another hospital with a population that big, 66,000 people living in Albany with one hospital? That
Yes.
doesn't make sense.
Well, they
And
had a
two,
hospital, right? And it got
They,
closed
they had
down, right?
two. They had
Yeah.
Paramaya, which closed, and they had Phoebe. Phoebe's there still. So they have this
Yes.
one hospital right now. I haven't seen any emergency urgent centers there. I haven't seen those. And they have Cooper Tires, and they have Mars, M&M Mars.
Yeah.
They have Procter and Gamble there, but still one of the poorest cities in Georgia. So what's the plan for them, if there's a
Glad
plan?
you
Go
asked
ahead.
that question. I'm so
Go
glad.
ahead.
First, I'm gonna talk about critical race theory. And the
Okay.
reason is 'cause all this is related. The system that we're in is a racist system, and if we go all the way back, and I tell people after slavery, when we had a lot of booming economic towns, and then we ended up having grandfather clauses created. If your grandfather didn't own property, you couldn't own property. If your grandfather couldn't vote, you couldn't vote. Black codes, all of that, from voter discrimination, redlining. You couldn't get a mortgage if you weren't X, Y, and Z. All of those things factor in why we have a lot of what would I like to say economically disadvantaged communities. So a lot of this stuff is by design, in my opinion. And then obviously you push forward after we had integration, because the truth is, as great as integration was, um, the downfall of integration, that a lot of our Black communities that were there ended up losing a lot of their economic power. A lot of us ended up moving to the suburbs, so a lot of our communities ended up becoming deserts in a lot of way. So from an economic standpoint, and then I tend to use a lot of geopolitical terms. When I was in not medical school, college, learning about African American studies and everything, I used this thought process and said it has to be a lot of political embargoes on the Black community, where we just either it's racism that's involved, where they're not trying to put in economic opportunities there, or we just have people that just don't have the know-how. So for me, I think it's a combination of things, and we have to make a conscious effort to improve our communities, which brings me back to the third thing on my platform. We have got to bring jobs into our community. We have got to bring jobs, and we've got to push small business ownership. I mean, we bring jobs. Oh my God. I mean, look, again, young people, young person is like, Doc, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to start my own business. We bring some jobs in there. All of that stuff gets fixed. We gotta empower our people on the ground, from a community standpoint, to take command of our communities. Police officers, we need people that look like us that are in those communities as well. You mentioned the hospital situation. Again, I have a master's in public health, healthcare administration. That's a certificate of need issue. So on the state level, this is why the census is important. On the state level, we can see the number of people in the community, and we look at the census tract, and they have to be a certain amount of we call full-time equivalents of medical personnel and doctors versus the amount of people. in a particular zip code, census tract and whatnot, that helps with your certificate of need. So it sounds like to me there needs to be another hospital there. And someone like myself, I understand how that process is. So we get a certificate of need set up, we can get a hospital system to come in there, put another hospital. But it's going to require, in my opinion, a multi-level operation from each community, each neighborhood, each community, each particular precinct district, and then the city working with the state and even the federal government in many ways to try to help improve that. And honestly, I would love to help get Albany where it needs to go.
All right,
because we need that. I think our communities, we need that. You mentioned the airport. I didn't know that.
There's an airport
like,
that you fly. My mom passed away last year from COVID as well, and so we're here in Metro Atlanta, but we, our home is Albany, so we took it to Albany to be laid to rest. And all my friends flew in from Jersey. They flew into Albany, and people like, we didn't know they had an airport. They all flew. They bypassed Atlanta, flew directly into Albany from Jersey.
That's amazing.
There's an airport there, a commercial airport there, and it has been there my entire life. They just redid
and there's a nice sized university there.
Yeah, that's right. Albany State University is there as well, and it's right by Valdosta State. So now listen, you just said you want to help. Now I'm gonna go down there. I'm going to Albany, and I'm going to arrange for you to come to Albany.
Please do. In Americas too. You didn't think I knew about that?
That's right. In Americas, we used to go there.
You think I knew? Huh?
that was our Sunday trip, y'all. We used to go to Americas. I still don't know what was in Americas for real, but my dad used to love to go to Americas on Sunday for some reason. I have no idea why, but anyway, I'm gonna go to Albany. I'm gonna arrange for you to come there and talk to my people about what we need to do to put Albany on the map. Because I go to Albany all the time, and I go down Pine Street, which is a beautiful street. And it's just like, where the people? It's 70,000 people in Albany. Why is downtown empty? It doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know why. I know that on the east side, there's no hospital at all. So if you live in East Albany, you have to come to the other side of Albany to get to the hospital.
There's a hospital there.
If you live out by 300, which is in the country, right? Which is about 30 minutes out, there's no hospital. They have to come in town to go to the hospital. So, and that's on the southwest side of Albany. So if you live in the other area, you got to come all the way over to get to the hospital. There's no hospital.
There's so many opportunities, especially if we can prove, and just from listening to what you're saying, we can prove that there are healthcare disparities there. And also it's a medical underserved area, which I'm 99.9% positive that it is. But we can get FQHCs there. We can get hospitals there. We can work with some of these medical schools where they can actually, bring residents and students down there. Goodness, actually, there are ways to, with somebody get a hospital there, you can actually even start a residency program. And what's interesting in that CMS, Centers for Medicaid and Medicare, they pay money for each residency slot. So that's revenue to the hospital that comes in there. And then here's the other thing too, since I got a business degree, you learn stuff called anchor tenants. So the airport, the hospital, I consider them anchor tenants for the area. Those are excellent draws for business. Right. Same thing with the airport. The airports, there's stipulations in there that you have to have a certain amount of minority business owners at the airport.
Yeah.
Great business opportunity, but that's why we got to teach that small business ownership. That like doing a business, like when I learned how to do a business plan, I sat back and said, "Oh my God, this is it. This is it." And it's, if people are like, "Dr. Hayes is hard," it's like a book report.
Yeah,
I promise you, it's like a book report, and then it's fun. It's fun. It's awesome. That's why I'm pushing that small business aspect, and we got to protect small business owners as much as possible. I mean, it's just like I said, I have my own small business. I love it. I just love it.
Yeah,
it's a great. So I want everyone else to have that same feeling.
You're gonna get an email from me now, Dr. Hayes.
Please do. I'm excited.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
So you mentioned earlier that there was 148 counties.
Yes.
In Georgia that are
medically underserved.
Could
we have 159 counties.
I was just about to say, could you let our audience know how many counties we have in Georgia?
159. I had to do my research, and I said, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
I said,
"Wow."
Yeah, and we have even south of Georgia. We, like I said, we have some counties that don't even have OBGYN, pediatrics. You got to go, like how you said, you got to go to a whole other city.
Wow.
You got to go to Macon or Augusta or Savannah. That's crazy. And
I'm not a mathematician, but that's about 80%. something like that.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Absolutely.
85. Good Lord.
That's a
I didn't
lot.
know it was
That's a
that
lot.
bad. Now, and you know, so here's my
Bad.
question. So people know that they live in these spaces where they don't have the necessary resources to have a profitable life and have a a healthy life, but yet they vote against the people who are trying to help them. Like I still can't wrap my
I
head
don't get
around
it
it.
either. And I'm very interactive. So when we put out these Facebook ads for the campaign, I do I send them all over the state. I do get a lot of actually over 95% of the people that respond are Republicans. And a lot of them come from the south of Georgia, and they jump on me. And I talk to them, and I said, "Hey, I say, why don't you just listen to what I'm saying?" It's weird because a lot of the rhetoric they get are like, "We hate Democrats," and I'm like, "Well, why?" Well, y'all spend money, and I was like, "Okay." And it's almost like the people who are responding, they're just as poor as they're white, but they're just as poor as black people, and they push this rhetoric of only black people on a public assistance, black
We know
people don't
that's
want
not.
to work, which
Yeah.
is not true, you
Right.
know. So I have to challenge them, and I pull up the data, and I'm like, "Hey, look, you're for Trump." I said, "Listen, man, you guys need to look at Trump. Trump is not for anybody but himself. He just wants
Mhm.
your vote." And I said, "You have to look at situations that are beneficial to you." So I said, I said, "I get it." I said, "Yes, we need to practice fiscal responsibility. Any lawmaker needs to do it, whether Republican or Democrat. But you also need to understand that in order to get communities going, you do have to push some type of economic plan or supportive plan that helps, because uh, health insurance is expensive. I mean, it's expensive. Running a business is expensive. So there's nothing wrong with helping people. It's like an economic stimulus, in my opinion."
What's
Well, you know,
crazy is
Republicans. Oh, sorry.
what I was gonna say. What's crazy is if they're saying you're spending too much money, you should ask them. Look around at where you are right now. We didn't spend any of this money. These are the people that
That's
you
right.
voted for. Are you better off than you were before? See, that's why I probably
That's
wouldn't be a
right.
good politician, because I'm gonna give it to you raw.
You
Like,
tell them how
look,
it
look
is, huh?
around.
Well, you know, the thing is, Republicans are only conservative when there's a Democrat in office or when it's a
That's
Democrat
right.
idea. Because if you look at every time a Republican gets in office, whether it's state or federal, they spend. Well, when Republicans have complete control, they spend it on projects that they deem qualified. They cut
Right.
taxes, and they cut taxes for the rich, and
Hmm.
then they fund what they deem important projects. You know,
That's
they'll
right.
go blacktop a road before they'll fund education. You
That's
know,
right.
they'll fund the military before they will take care of the
Healthcare.
homeless.
That's
The
right.
homeless.
United
Because
States of America,
I find
highest
it
defense
mighty
military spending in the world.
in the world. I
We're
find it
number one.
mighty interesting that we got $400 million to send to Ukraine, but we can't do nothing but homelessness and healthcare and education in our own country.
That's a
400
problem.
million in two
400
weeks.
million.
In two
That's
weeks.
a problem.
In
That's a
2 weeks,
problem.
he sent two separate $200 million packages
And
to
I think
Ukraine.
part of the reason is because we have some interest, obviously interest over there in Ukraine,
We have we have
and
we have tons of interest right here in our own country,
yeah,
our own
yeah, and
backyard.
that's right. And here's the other thing, is that without it's just terrible in my opinion. Now, again, I mentioned the issue with the Black Plan, the Black Economic Plan. Our votes get taken for granted. It
Yeah.
just be honest and stuff like that. So we just need real politicians that'll come in and focus on that. I mean, just like you mentioned with Ukraine. I mean, they gave Wall Street this bailout, and they're giving everyone else bailouts, but they don't want to help your own people here. So that's
Yeah,
an issue and
it's
stuff like that.
it's amazing. Well,
It is.
I heard you mention Houston, so I'm originally from, I can finally jump in and say where I'm from. See,
Yeah.
everybody from Louisiana and Jersey and Albany. I'm from Houston, Texas.
What
Albany.
And
part? What part?
Albany.
I'm from South Park, MLK and 610.
Oh yeah, I
That's
know that. I know
Yeah,
South Park,
you
MLK. I
probably
have some family grew up in Third Ward.
okay, Third
I know
Ward.
all that back there. I know
All right.
Sunnyside,
Sunnyside. Okay, Sunnyside right
Clover,
next to South Park. What you know about Timmy Chan?
Cloverland.
Timmy Chan.
Oh, don't eat that Timmy Chan. Let me tell
Uh,
you something about Timmy Chan.
yeah.
Tell you something about
He
Timmy
said,
Chan. Look,
"Don't
man.
eat
So on
there."
Main Street
Yeah.
over there, by
Yeah.
the stadium.
Well, yeah, that's one of them. The original
Oh,
was
that's
off
a
of
bad
MLK
one.
and 16.
I know that one. You see it off 610.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Timmy Chan, man,
what happened to the
man, that
one
one
over
over
there
there
by
on
the
Main
stadium?
Street. I went in there and was like, the lady, I don't know if she was doing something, and I said, I can't. It just wasn't too healthy. I had to walk out.
Well, yeah,
Timmy
you know,
Chan, man. But then, Tim, when you say Timmy Chan, oh yeah, you did some time in Houston. You know, if you know about Timmy Chan.
yeah. Timmy Chan, Burger Park, yeah, Champs
Yeah,
Burger, yeah, they got some
Chan's
real good.
Burger. What's the other one?
Yeah.
Whataburger too.
Oh, Whataburger.
I think.
Quick story. I met my wife at Whataburger. Like
Really?
her and I worked together at Whataburger, and
Oh wow.
so we
Oh
got a
wow.
Whataburger love story.
I think they're gonna
Ooh,
bring a
you need to sell
Whataburger
that,
out
Derek. You
here.
need to sell that to Whataburger.
They
The
are. They supposed
Whataburgers.
to be. They supposed to be bringing one in
Bringing
Stillman.
one Whataburgers is pretty good, man.
Yeah,
You know, you get the little burgers and you can taste the mustard on it. And
yeah. I don't like mustard, but yeah.
oh, you know,
Nope.
fries and everything. I love
Just the
Houston, man. I love about. They got a lot of, you know how it is in Houston. You got a lot of Louisiana people in Houston, man. And you go
yeah.
there, you say Opelousas.
My family is originally from Louisiana. They from
Oh,
Monroe,
really? What part? Oh, Monroe. Okay,
Rayville, which is right
okay,
next to
okay,
Monroe. So
okay.
yeah.
Look. When you go to
Audrey, now you
Houston,
see
you say
how I felt.
Opelousas, they know. They know what
Yeah.
Opelousas is in Houston.
Now Audrey, now you see how I
Love
felt
it.
when y'all was going on and on about Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, Derek, I understand. I feel left out right now. It's okay. I'm going to Houston to visit. I got a good friend out there. I told her I'll be there this summer. She said, okay.
Oh,
So
Houston
when
is
I
great.
come
It's
back, I'll have a
hot,
Houston story.
H Town.
hot.
So
No, that's what I'm
Dr.
trying to.
Hayes. So Dr. Hayes, how can people
Yes,
reach
sir.
you? What's like, if we wanted
Absolutely.
to contact you, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So a couple ways. You can email the campaign at info at Jason Hayes, Hayes 4 FORGA.com. Someone's always responded. Website is www.jason, Jason, Hayes, Hayes 4 FORGA.com. You can learn more about me. If you want to donate to the campaign, you can do it. We even have a link to podcast that I host called Beyond the Race. So if you want to learn more about my background, what I think about critical race theory, prison industrial complex, it's there as well. Also, we have the Instagram page at Jason for Georgia, Facebook at Jason for Georgia, Twitter at Jason for FORGA. Even got a TikTok at Jason for Georgia, LinkedIn
You
at Jason for
TikTok it?
Georgia.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
got a
he
little TikTok
everywhere.
on there.
You trying to
Well,
win, aren't you, Dr. Hayes? Dr. Hayes,
I'm
he
trying to
on
win. I got
TikTok.
all that. I even got a Google page too as well at Jason Georgia, so
They
you can
still
look
have
me up
Google
there too.
pages? You said I got a
I got a
Google
Google
page.
page. I got a Google
What you
page.
what you doing on TikTok? I want to go see this
You
one.
know
What you doing
what?
on
I put up
TikTok?
a commercial and for my podcast. I haven't been on it since, but I'm gonna do another TikTok because I like the ones where people can like lip sync, but I still haven't figured out how
Yeah.
to do all that stuff. So I mean, I
Yeah.
like to sing, so I was gonna sing, but I said I want to do a lip syncing one, or when people like do the lip
I
sync
love
to
the
the
medical
movies,
TikToks. Some of the medical TikToks be so hilarious.
they're crazy. I need
You
someone to
know,
show me how to do that stuff.
Audrey.
before we wrap up, I want to, because I meant
Yes.
to touch on this a minute ago. So, is there a plan to have a tech initiative as a part of your platform moving forward? Because I know that there is some amazing technology coming out, and you're a doctor. Like I saw somebody do a practice surgery in virtual reality where the heart was
Oh
beating and they
wow.
actually did a surgery, and I was like, that is freaking amazing. So I know that's where we're going, and I don't know if you've even thought about it. I always stump the guest with this question because I'm on the other side listening and researching all this stuff. But the
Yeah.
technology that's coming out right now that's going to help change a lot of way we learn. Like you said, we need to get people back into like the vocational technical
Yes.
opportunities for students, right? My husband works
Yes.
in pharmaceutical, and we've always talked about having a pharmaceutical school. It's just a matter of trying to find the time. But now with new technology,
Oh
we
my
can show
goodness.
you how to blend a medicine in virtual reality. They're doing
Oh my goodness.
operations in virtual reality. So I don't know if you've thought about it, but is there a tech initiative that's a part of your platform moving forward, or maybe you didn't think about
Yes. Well, one thing that we definitely need to do is make sure that everyone has access to the internet. I know that was one of the
it?
concerns a lot of teachers. Well, when I've spoken with them, saying that how can I get my plan out if I have a child that is in a rural area or an underserved community where they don't have access to internet. So that's one thing that we need to definitely look at, definitely get done. And sure you guys heard Elon Musk and all that. They have these things called satellite trains in the sky. You can actually get internet from satellites now. So
Mhm.
something here in Georgia we definitely need to push for. And then as far as other tech initiatives, definitely one thing that the pandemic taught us is that virtual reality. I mean, using the Zoom. I mean, that is something huge that I think we should probably still continue to use. For the conceivable future, and then even making sure that if you're a small business owner or a large business, can you continue to use the Zoom and the technology to keep your non-essential workers home? We reduce carbon emissions if we have less people on the road and only, have our essential workers there. So, but main thing definitely is making sure we get the internet available for everyone. So, again, children and individuals or young people in underserved communities will have access. So I think that's the huge thing. But no, I love your ideas, what you're saying about starting, school, online school, using
Yeah.
virtual reality. Matter of fact, and I hope someone doesn't steal my idea. I was saying, hey, maybe we can have these virtual reality office visits where people can come in.
Now
And,
let me just say this. Let
we're
me
getting
say this.
close.
Let
We're
me
getting
say this,
close.
Dr. Hayes. I got to tell you this. That's not an original idea. I got to tell you
I
that.
know.
So I was in a I was in a tech
You're gonna
meeting a
do it.
couple of weeks. Nope. I was in a tech meeting a couple of weeks ago. There was a young lady who does virtual office visit, and you pay with NFTs.
Oh,
It's called Crypto Docs.
I'm
Crypto
late
Docs is
now.
what it's called. So it's not original.
I'm gonna
It's
check
it's,
it
it's
out. I'm
already
glad you said
happening.
it. I'm glad you said it, and I think that's a great thing. I mean, if you guys seeing with metaverse and using, I mean, these goggles, and it's wow,
Yeah.
it's
It's,
amazing.
it,
It's
but what it does is
amazing.
it allowed the healthcare practitioner to open up their practice even further to reach people who are in rural areas that may have a
That's
phone.
right.
And you take the phone and scan your body, and you can see everything that's going
You
on.
can see
So that's
everything.
where we're going. But yeah, she's out in California, and she has a platform called
Amazing,
Crypto Docs, and you stand in front of a camera and pay with
amazing,
NFTs and do your thing. And they do the examination. So it's already
amazing.
happening. It's already
Well,
Well,
I
I'm
would,
happening.
going to
well, I
look
would love to
into
look
it.
into that because
Yes,
I mean, my only issue with um, the virtual health is, at the end of the day, how you gonna do lab work? Like, how's that handled? How blood work is
that's a great
handled?
question. You send them to a LabCorp or Quest or whatever lab that you're having an arrangement with. Now, don't get me wrong; it is a somewhat of a hassle. You have to physically get out your house and go to these
The reason
places
why
and
I ask
whatnot.
because doing, but most of our audience know, I ran for office in 2020. And
Right,
in the middle of that, so in 2020 was when the pandemic started, and so I was having some symptoms, and I
right,
guess the symptoms could have been COVID related, but
right,
they really wasn't. And so I'm calling my doctor, and you as a doctor, you have
right.
all these gatekeepers,
That's right.
that's blocking me from getting to my doctor. And so I ended up having to go to the emergency room because all they wanted to do was schedule a virtual. And I went to the emergency room. My sugar was over 600. They couldn't
Wow.
tell that. They couldn't tell that and I knew they couldn't tell that. I needed some
Right.
lab work.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, and then when I actually get to my doctor, he was like, "Why you go to the emergency room, dude?" Because I couldn't get in contact with you.
We called
I
you
ended up
like a
getting,
million times.
yeah, I ended up getting a cell phone number. So now I text him if I have, but
Perfect.
but that was, and so I will be the person that's going to be the devil's advocate here and say virtual health would be a great idea, but how would that help in situations where you can't look at it and say, oh, that's an issue, versus that you
That's
need to
right.
do some lab work? Because my
And
situation would have been a waste of time, waste of copay, for
right,
you to tell me to come in for
right,
another copay.
right.
So
I don't
Absolutely.
think
Yeah,
we're there
it's a
yet.
balance.
Yeah, it's a balance.
yeah,
Because I don't think we're there yet. I think we're going to get there to the point where, just like you take a finger stick at home to test your sugar. Right now, you don't need to go to a doctor for that, but you need to know that you need to test. That's the thing. So if you
that's
don't know
right.
you need to test, you're not testing for that.
That's right.
But I
That's right.
think that we're going to get there one day soon, where you can have these things in your house with this technology that you can do these type of things and know I'm
Believe
not
it
feeling
or
well.
not, it's
Yeah.
already here. We
Okay.
I
See there. There
actually
you
have
go,
I
Derek.
actually get this. I actually
Okay.
have with the electronic medical records I have, there is we have these. It's called a marketplace, so you can go to and get these apps that can connect to your EMR. We actually can do remote patient monitoring. So blood
Okay.
pressures. I'm gonna double check on the blood sugar one. I'm like
And mind
80%
you, I
sure they
didn't
have it
know.
for blood
I didn't
pressure.
know that I was a diabetic. So this was
Oh
like
wow,
new. It's not like I was a diabetic and I'm doing this is all of a sudden I'm not feeling well. And I just visit the doctor. So this is in May. I just visit my
wow,
doctor in February. So he like,
wow.
whoa, what's
What happened?
yeah, from February I went from like a 5.6 AC A1C to May I was a 12.1. So he
Wow.
was like, and so that's why I was, and my wife, who's a medical assistant, she kept on saying, "Yeah, I think it's your sugar. I think it's your sugar. You might
Oh,
want to
okay.
get checked." And so that's why I was like, "Yeah, I don't need no virtual. I need some labs."
Need some
And
labs.
and
Yeah,
plus, if
you
we
need someone
get
to see you. Yeah.
right, and plus, if we get real technical, I was like going to the restroom and it was clear water, like
Yes. Yes.
yeah. And so that was
Polyuria.
yeah, I was told that
We
I
call it.
was letting sugar out. And when I
Yes.
like, yeah. So,
Wow.
and I was like, I need, and so it was stuff like that. You have a question real quick.
Shirley Hines has a question for you, Dr. Hayes. So what's your view on telemedicine in public schools? Good question.
That's a great question. I think there can be some benefit from it. For example, if a child is in a situation where, let's say, there's a nurse practitioner in the school, or maybe there's just a nurse, and they actually need to have a look over by a pediatrician. I think that would be excellent, an excellent adjunct to the child actually seeing the pediatrician in person. So yes, I would be 100% in favor for that. And it just gives greater access and reduces a lot of the burdens on the school teachers from having to make diagnoses and things that's out of their scope.
Right.
So yes, absolutely, that's a great question.
Thank you for
Yeah,
that
It's a
question,
great
Shirley.
one. I love it.
Thank you
Thank
for
you, Miss
listening
Shirley.
in.
We appreciate you. It's a
yeah.
great
Yes, we
question.
do.
And also, as you aware with podcasts, because we're streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn,
Love it.
America One
YouTube,
Radio,
American One Radio,
Roku.
American One
America.
Radio.
Yeah,
I haven't been
Yes.
America
on
One
that.
Radio, and so,
Amazing.
but unlike the radio, the other platforms, people are able to leave questions, and
That's
so
amazing.
I ask that just over, the next couple of days, weeks, you come back and look at our different platforms and see if there are any questions
Absolutely.
and answer those questions, because we
Absolutely.
do have,
Absolutely.
because people listen and watch anytime, how that that works, and so.
Absolutely.
But we do get tons of questions that's asked on our platform sometimes.
I love
And
it.
so,
I love it. Yes, I would love to be available to answer questions, and I'm excited. Like I said, I appreciate both of you bringing me on. As you can tell, I talk a lot.
yeah, yeah,
I
oh
like
yeah,
So
to
do
talk.
I.
I love questions, so I'm definitely excited.
yeah,
Well, thank you so much. I will be in contact for real. So look for my email. But
Please
thank you so
do.
much
Oh,
for
I'm looking.
being
I
here.
want to come to Albany. My good friend is gonna be like, "You came by here to Albany?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, well, tell me you'll be there. Tell your good friend you'll be in Albany
absolutely."
soon.
And
Like
I'm gonna
that
take you
lady
to
who's gonna
Americans
bring you to
too.
Albany. I'm gonna reach out to my aunt. So my aunt is a pastor there, and so I'm gonna
Oh,
reach
great,
out to her. Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to
amazing.
her and see what we can do, because I really feel like
Please do.
Albany gets a bad shot because people just don't know the things that they do. You got manufacturers there, so we should not have a
Perfect.
unemployment rate with unlivable wages there when you got big companies like Coors and
Look at that.
Cooper and Mars and Coates and Clark has been there forever. You
I
should not
tell you
have it
what.
with Procter and Gamble. You shouldn't have it like that. So
yeah,
If
and an
y'all
airport.
bring me, if y'all bring me back on, we can talk more about labor. I got some theories on
Mhm.
why
mm.
we're not where we're supposed to be with this minimum wage. I got a lot of
Oh
theories on
wow,
it.
okay,
Well, okay, so this may be
Um,
part two next week. We have a
I
candidate that's
got a
supposed to come on, but we don't know that that candidate qualifies. So if that person
really.
did not qualify, we may have Dr. Hayes back next week.
or
So
part
you got to
two.
We can
stay
work
tuned.
something out because labor. We gotta have we have to be working. We have to work. We
Yeah,
have to work. People talk about money, money, money. No, it's about the economy and working
right,
commerce. That's what it's about. It's about it. The COVID-19, the pandemic taught us a lot. These corporations do not have people working. They will not be in business. It's as
right,
simple as that.
exactly.
All
Well, I
right.
heard that you will be in Gwinnett County next week.
Absolutely. I got invited to what is this? East Side
I heard,
Chamber of Commerce inaugural.
Yeah.
Gala. I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited.
Okay. Listen, y'all want to walk the red carpet with us next week looking fabulous in flies? Next Saturday, you can buy your ticket up until tomorrow morning. If you did not get your ticket, you only got 1 day left. Shameless plug, I am the media director for the Greater Eastside Chamber of Commerce, and I will be there walking the red carpet along with these fine gentlemen. And so if you want to join us for a beautiful night out at Vaughn's Mansion, we're going to be there next Saturday, 6 to 10 p.m., talking business, having fun, dancing a little bit, and eating some great food. So be sure to go to mygecc.org to get your ticket sales. Tickets go off sale tomorrow. Don't miss it. All right. Shameless plug.
I'm excited.
Thank you again, sir. I look forward to talking to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it all. I look forward to meeting in person. We're going to have a good time next week.
Yes.
Great time.
So if we don't have a guest next week, I'll let you know real soon. So
let me know.
You can see if you can get it on your calendar.
We'll come back on. Look, if you want to even deep dive into some of these other topics, we can do that too. If you want to talk about prison industrial complex, critical race theory, we could talk about whatever.
Oh, wow.
You want to talk about.
Got it. Yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so
much.
Thank you so
much. I appreciate you allowing me to have a platform. This is exciting, and I appreciate the work that you're doing as well.
You're very welcome. Thank you. So listen, we'll be back again next Sunday. Same bad place, same bad time. Listen, make sure to join us. Share this show with your friends. 1 p.m. streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Roku, and America One Radio. Thank you, America One Radio, for broadcasting our show. You stay safe out there. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And until next time, my friends, make it a great day. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Popcorn in Politics. What's the Real Deal? Hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney and Derek J. Wilson. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your family and friends. To support the show, visit us on the web at www.popcorninpolitics.com. Connect with us on Facebook at Progressive Popcorn and on Instagram at Popcorn Politics Podcast.